Hello, everyone, and welcome back to FutureBuilt. I'm Matt Boney, your host, and I'm here today with Brian Meyer, who's the co-founder of FLOHOM, a visionary behind the company's success and its continued expansion. Brian, great to have you here today on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I'm excited you reached out to me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely, same here. So I've been enthralled with your concept since I first saw it. For those people just joining us now and wondering what is a flow home, maybe you can walk us through what that is and what your vision sort of encompasses.
Yeah, so FlowHome is a next generation experiential hospitality company where we're really building a new real estate asset class, which is on the water. And we've started out building luxury houseboats and deploying them and operating them as luxury floating suites in different areas, different waterfront areas. So we're based in the Mid-Atlantic region, and so we have flow homes in Baltimore, Washington D.C., Virginia Beach. We just launched some in Myrtle Beach. So we're creating this first of its kind network where people can travel to these different waterfronts, and actually we get a lot of people that live locally that want to try something unique, celebrate a romantic occasion, birthday, etc., that they'll stay on as well. And I'm sure your listeners are joining, when they think about traveling, obviously there's a premium of being, near or on the water, and we're able to physically deploy and operate assets that are on the water, which just creates a whole nother experience and has been a huge factor in our success so far.
Absolutely. What sort of inspired this journey? I mean, it's been multiple years in the making now. What got you obsessed with the water to start?
Yeah, I mean, my life pursuit is the water. From when I was born to just high school, college. I grew up surfing. I went to college in Hawaii as a surfer and left as a outrigger paddler, which is what in the state of Hawaii. If you think about the sports like baseball, football here in the states, where out there it's outrigger paddling. And I ended up leaving Hawaii and came back to Maryland, and my first entrepreneurial experience was building a water sports company. So my two friends of mine and I created a stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, water sports experience company in downtown Annapolis. Where before we showed up, the only way you could get on the water was if you owned a boat or took one of the few boat tours that were in the city. So it was pretty limited. And we were able to find a place right in downtown and immediately change the landscape in downtown Annapolis, where we were able to get a wide demographic of people to be able to experience the water. And before starting that company, I had no entrepreneurial or business experience, so I consider that time as my MBA of becoming an entrepreneur. And I didn't know it at the time, but I figured out pretty quickly is that I found a really cool niche where not only can I be an entrepreneur and build a business, I can do it around my personal lifestyle. And so where Flow Home comes in is towards the end of my time running that company, I ended up selling it to my partners. Is my wife and I were trying to figure out how we continue to live this lifestyle, which meant can we find a way to live on the water? And in Annapolis, there are a couple houseboats around, and one of them that I saw one day when I was paddling around was an older houseboat. It didn't look that nice from the outside, but it looked interesting enough that I thought it looked unique enough to go and check it out. And so I ended up going to the house, paddling over to the houseboat, meeting the owners, and they allowed me to go inside. And that was when the light bulb moment went off, because although it didn't look great from the outside, they had spent the last 2 years renovating the entire inside, and it looked like $1 million home on the water. And
Wow.
I was like, oh wow, like this is it. Like I would live here. And so I actually ended up like getting them to want to sell it to me. And through that personal experience of trying to figure out financing, closing on it, insurance, like I figured out the limitations in this space that when we started Flow Home, we had to solve for. Um, so I didn't end up moving forward with buying it, but the idea always stuck in my head. And then when COVID hit, Flow Home's a COVID story. When everyone stopped what they were doing in their lives, I just went into like a deep thinking mode, spent hours on the day just thinking about this idea. And I'm a huge risk taker in life, and decided that, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. And started reaching out to my network. I had some people in the marina industry, started pitching them, got enough interest that started writing business plans and connecting to different folks. And along the journey, it was interesting because I found other people that had not exactly the way that I was thinking about building Flow Home, but a similar story about how they were looking at a marina, wanted to find some houseboats and create like this little short-term rental business. And so along the journey, when I say I'm a co-founder, I have two business partners who came on board, and together the three of us started the company in 2023. And in June of 2023 is when our first Flow Home opened. And
Nice.
from that point to here, we it was all about proving the concept of, hey, can we build a network of these, and prove that the nightly rates, the occupancy is up to our expectations of what we forecasted, and we've just crushed all of our forecast, and it
Amazing.
really has created this new excitement. And also just there's so many tentacles to this business that we can talk about where this is headed, and just really excited about what we're creating. And again, back to the point of the story is that Flow Home is my lifestyle. Like, it isn't just a business. Like, my future goal in life is to have a handful of flow homes in different areas of maybe the world, but at least the United States, where I can travel, to one spot to the other, to be on the water, to do my water sports activities, and enjoy life.
Do do you live in one at the moment?
I don't know. When I ended up not going forward with the houseboat acquisition, I ended up finding a house in Annapolis on the water, so I was able to check that
Nice.
box off. So I'm happy where I am right now. But the goal is, as the business grows, that I'm definitely going to be transitioning to on water living.
Sweet, man. That's awesome. You had to bounce around from city to city to find, have
Yeah.
a network of your own. That's amazing. I love when founders are, eating the dog food or using their own products. Like that's the only
Hmm.
way to, I think, grow a business, to understand the details, to understand the user experience, especially in hospitality. This is so key. So I love that, man. So talk to us about some of these tentacles of the business. I mean, maybe if people have listened to other podcasts, which you've been on multiple at this point, which is awesome. The story of Flow Home is kind of out there. Talk to us about the future. What are these? What are these other avenues that you guys want to start pursuing at some point?
Yeah, when we first started the business, our initial goal was to own all of the flow homes ourselves. And,
Hmm.
that's an interesting story in itself, because when we got into this business, our intention was not to be the builder of the assets. And, that was one of the things we had to solve early on, was to find a builder that could build to the quality and at scale. And
Yep.
we ended up finding a builder and learned pretty quickly that partnership was not going to work out. And so we had to transition and learn how to build them ourselves. Luckily, my partner, Selly, is a builder. And so he, put his tool
Nice.
belt on and went to work, and we figured it out. And so we learned a lot in that journey. And so when we initially thought that we were going to own all of them, what started to happen is that the guests that were staying on them would start to reach out to us and be like, "Wow, that was such an incredible experience. Like, I would love to own one myself." So
Hmm.
once we started getting enough of those inquiries, then we started thinking about, all right, well, what would that model look like? And so in at the beginning of last year, we opened up our first partner flow home. And so that means that an individual owns the flow home as an investment, and that we manage the operations, do all the marketing, end to end management. And so there's a couple key benefits to that. One, as we've learned by building the business, is that in the real estate world, there's all sorts of different tax strategies. And since the flow homes are Coast Guard registered vessels, they're classified as capital equipment from an IRS
Right.
standpoint. And so with the new tax bill that just went in place, 100% accelerated depreciation is back. And so someone can purchase a flow home and get the 100% depreciation, either whether it's passive or active. So they get that benefit. And then, what we've proved with the unit economics of the performance of the flow homes is that these cash flow really well. So now they're getting the
Nice.
tax depreciation, they're getting dependable cash flow. And then thirdly, this is such a cool lifestyle, cool asset, is a lot of our owners spend time on it themselves. So it's not just an investment, it's a place where they can go to hang out, bring family and friends. And so it's become a really attractive investment opportunity for a lot of different folks. And what we're working on now, which is kind of like the third phase of that, is we've realized that the marina industry as a whole is a very fragmented, kind of antiquated industry in that there's only so much a marina can charge per slip. If like for yourself, if you owned a boat, wanted to put it in a marina to use it, there's only so much a marina can charge. So just giving an example is if you're a marina owner, you could charge, I'm just making it up, $1,000 a month for that slip. Well, if that marina owner owned a flow home, they could be making 8 to 10, even more thousand a month on that same slip. And so what we're doing now is partnering with marinas. They're owning the flow homes. The operating model either could manage it, or we're working on a license program where they can self-manage, but they're still going to leverage the flow home brand, our marketing strategies, our booking platform, because what we've realized, flow home, one of the most successful parts of the business is the brand that we've created, our marketing, our social following. And so we're leveraging that and creating a platform so that marina owners, individuals, waterfront hotels with marinas, even RV parks or glamping that has waterfront space with dockage, that they could put the flow homes on there and add additional lodging units. And so that's really kind of the light bulb moment, and what we're working on right now is deploying this program to all different types of partnerships.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And the idea that you could be on the water actually at the coast or at a lake or a lagoon or anything, I can see it sort of expanding and continuing to grow, which is awesome. Talk to us a little bit about the models of homes that you guys currently produce or you have. What's in the lineup now, and where's that kind of going?
Yeah, so we have 4 base models that we deploy today. So they range from like a 30 by 14, think of it like as a hotel suite, hotel room, all the way up to a 53 by 16, we call them C-Lux suites. So they're a 1 bedroom and a 2 bedroom model. We found that people will pay for the space, so our larger models have been our most popular. Fully intentional design, luxury, high quality amenities, fully decked out rooftops. It's one of the best parts of the space is the rooftop to get those 360 views. We strategically place these in locations and even in the marina best position to get the sunrise, to get the sunsets. So those are our base models. We're actually now, we found a partner that builds a different type of houseboat that we're bringing in this year. That's going to be called what we call a flow yacht. So these are going to be more of a charter vessel where people will still be able to stay overnight, but it will come with a licensed captain. So they'll be able to take them out for a day, for a half day. And so that's going to be another segment of the business because, one of the challenges of this, there's so many challenges of this business, which I'm sure we'll get into, but, every jurisdiction has their own rules and regulations, and pretty much all of them, the space that we operate in, there is no playbook, there is no black and white rule. So we have to navigate every single location we go into is to figure out what the rules are and work with the city to make sure we're licensed correctly. And and while those are challenges that we've had to navigate through, they are barriers to entry and how we're creating a pretty definable moat around the business, because it's not just like you can go buy a houseboat and put it in a marina. There's such a negative historical context around houseboats in the marina industry, and then if you attach short-term rentals with that, it's a recipe for disaster. Which and there are a lot of cases in the past of people trying to do this and they failed for a variety of reasons. And so we've had to be very strategic and intentional of how we've grown the company to avoid ultimately being disruptive to the marina environments, right? So, we've achieved that so far, but that's always on the top of our minds to make sure that the people that are coming into the marinas are good customers, are good neighbors to other boaters and the marinas themselves.
Absolutely. Are you guys thinking of doing any sort of branded experience where it would be multiple or maybe entirely taken over by FlowHome, the entire marina? Is that something on the radar?
Yeah, yes, it is. That is part of our vision, and we're actually starting to deploy that vision as we speak. We have a marina that not FlowHome the company, but the partners of FlowHome have acquired and are going to reposition that marina into a mixed-use hospitality kind of real estate platform. So we're going to have the flow
That's awesome.
homes that people see today from a hospitality concept. We'll probably put anywhere from 10 to 15. So create like a floating boutique hotel. we'll have a residential pier, so people will be able to live on the flow homes full time or part time if they want to. And then additionally, we're going to have another part of the business I haven't talked about either is like floating commercial structures. So whether it's a
Awesome.
spa or a sauna or a cafe or a special event venue. So when you combine all of those together and still have some room for traditional boats that want to stay there or come for the day, is you build this mixed use hospitality platform where it completely changes the financial and it completely changes like the culture of that marina.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's two interesting branches, I mean, multiple off of that one thread, but I think one of them is talking about sort of this ecosystem that you're building, both technology and hardware, also experience, and services. How do you think about all these things kind of blending together? Where do you focus your time and thought as a CEO or co-founder?
Yeah, well, the lucky thing is I have a great team. My partners, we all excel in our own different disciplines and we work very well together. So, for example, Selly, one of my partners, he's really awesome at the production. He owns a marina, so he's got the marina background. Where my other partner Jerry, he when you talk about successful entrepreneurs, this guy's been in the top of the mountain already. He built one of the largest parking concession companies in the United States and sold it to private equity. And when he got introduced to me, he loved the vision, but he also saw that he could be a key person in helping make this idea that I had at the time that was just an idea to a reality and to a scalable company. And so he really comes in and helps us define the vision, the capital allocation strategy, making sure that, for again, this is a very asset heavy business, right? So you got to have that critical, that smart, financial savvy person to help architect how this is going to grow. We have another partner on the team, Dan, who built one of the largest marina management companies in the United States. So he understands marinas, he understands how to operate them, how to own them. And then we have numerous other people on the team that are disciplined in their own ways. So it really comes down to the team. Now, where I sit, I'm the visionary. My true passion is brand marketing. And so, ultimately, as a young startup, I got my hands in pretty much everything. But I really enjoy the marketing, the brand. So, this picture that is my background and every single photo that you see of FlowHome, I've shot myself. It's one of my personal
Nice.
passions, and again, I love doing it because I understand every single corner of the space and know where the best positions to shoot. And again, it goes back to that intentionality and that quality is that when you roll all that up together, you get an amazing experience, is what we've provided to date.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that. I mean, just the photo that you have behind yourself is beautiful. And I think the brand is something that really sounds like it speaks to, I mean, I love the brand, but it sounds like it speaks to all these guests who are going direct and booking with you guys. It's not just a generic, thumbnail that they see on Expedia or something and book. This is it's a very holistic and sort of encased ecosystem, which I think speaks to that brand quality. Maybe talk to us a little bit more also about the financials. Let's say someone's watching this, they're an investor. What is the basic outline for someone that's interested in buying one of these or investing?
Yeah, so our models range, and when I say the price, it includes everything. So it includes the flow, and it includes working with our design team to intentionally design it. It includes shipping, deployment. So when I say pricing, it's ready to rent, which means it's ready for the first guest to
Cool.
check in. So our models, the 30-footer all in is about 340, and then our largest models, our C-Lux models, are around 500.
Okay.
And so that's the pricing for the models. And again, one of the challenges early on, because this is such a unique concept, is the financing part of it. And so
Yeah.
you can't just go to a normal bank and, hey, I was like, I'm going to buy this, flow home. They're probably going to say no because they have no idea what it is. And so we've had to work strategically and find financing partners. It's a mix of credit unions, banks, private, and so we have a couple different financing partners that do provide really good financing solutions for our partners, and so we have that set up as well that people are able to utilize.
Nice. Yeah, we've been kind of going down that path as well with Infinite and just figuring out what are the best ways to get people the financing for these sort of non-traditional assets that a bank may not understand off the top of their head today, maybe in a few years. But
Yeah.
I would be interested to know. Well, with that, I mean, obviously there's sort of the equipment financing world as well. Is that the kind of financing you guys go after? Is equipment financing?
Equipment, yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
what they're being underwritten.
Which is so interesting too for, I mean, any investor or someone that wants to even own a home, right? Like it's not the traditional way you would think about financing a short-term rental or your first home or whatever else. So I think it's this interesting path that almost provides more optionality in some ways to investors that are just diving in to start. And talk to us also about like more about this sort of NOI, what this does for a marina. Like let's say a year from the first implementation, 12 months, 18 months down the road, like what are they looking at as far as uplift and more like the unit economics?
Yeah, well, it depends on the operating model. You know, if it was a corporate boat or a partner boat, or it was a licensed model. It all varies. But I would say our annual NOI averages from our smaller boats can be anywhere from 35 to 50, and then our larger boats anywhere from 50 to 80 plus. Again, it depends on the operating model, depends on the location. I mean, the exciting part is the performance of the boats to date. We're in the Mid Atlantic, which we have seasonality. We are able to put these in downtown areas, which definitely helps. But we haven't even gotten to some of these locations where we know that these things are going to crush even more. So that's kind of the exciting thing this year, is to go into some of these new locations like Florida. We're about to deploy some FLOHOMs just right outside of New York City, where
Wow.
there's tons of people, and these are true destinations that with the incredible views, is that these things are going to perform even better than they have here where we are today.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I mean, when you think about the cap rate and the NOI that you guys are already producing, like this is a major uplift for, I would imagine, a marina owner or investors. Like they're seeing a pretty significant return, even if, the numbers maybe sound like, oh, this is, tens of thousands of dollars. But when you multiply that out, like this is millions of dollars in increased value, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially for the marina. I mean, I gave you an
Yeah.
example of one, but if you outfitted, your marina, a section of it, or even
Right.
your entire marina, I mean, it completely changes the cap rate. And that ultimately is the goal, for FlowHome, and the platform that we're building is to have a portfolio of these marinas that we have deployed, whether it's half hospitality, half residential, all hospitality. It will depend on the exact location, but there's optionality in how we can deploy.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so Florida's a potential new market for you guys, New York. Are there other parts of the states that you guys are looking at, or are you deploying these internationally as well?
Not internationally yet. I mean, that we're trying to solve one thing at a time. That's shipping these and doing all that. That's something we haven't
Yeah.
conquered yet. But yeah, I mean, that's what the license program is really, to expand our presence and scale quicker. And from a production standpoint, our vision is to have these regional deployment facilities in different pockets of the country that we are pretty confident that we'll have density in. I mean, there's so many different places that we could do this. I mean, I think the lake regions in the southeast, Texas. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much opportunity there that we haven't even tapped into yet. And yeah, I mean, these can work anywhere. I mean, even in places like, up way up north, or, in the Great Lake region. I mean, they have shorter seasons, so, I don't think it would be doable to really operate year round, just because it gets so cold and the winter gets pretty gnarly up there. But I mean, even if you operated this from April through October, I mean,
Yeah.
that season in itself still makes complete sense for some of these marina owners, even individuals that want to own it. It still is a great investment opportunity.
Yeah, that's amazing. And can people come to you and say, hey, like I'd like to buy multiple units. I want to, maybe they own a marina or they have a vision for a location. They have access to capital, let's say, and they can buy multiple of these units and kind of set up like their own ecosystem? Is that something you guys do, like almost franchising kind of?
Yeah, so we haven't deployed that yet, but that's what I'm talking about, the license program. I don't like to use the word
Okay.
franchise because it's a little bit
Right.
different, but it is similar model. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's essentially the goal of that is that, any entrepreneur or Marina or whoever that would, sees an opportunity and wants to manage their own business, we've built the playbook. The playbook didn't exist before
Yeah.
we started this because there's not, so we built the playbook and now we're ready to deploy it. And, the benefit to the licensees is we have all the SOPs, we have, the brand recognition, we have the marketing playbook, and, we can attach all of that to their operation to help drive bookings and drive awareness. And, yeah, so that's a big initiative for us this year.
That's awesome. And is that kind of like a rev share model where you guys would provide some of that stuff up front and share in the upside of the booking revenue? I know that's a model that's kind of floating around, but is there, uh, no pun intended, is there, you know, is that the model, or is it more so like, hey, you have the capital, we'll give you all the assets, we'll give you the know-how, and then you're just going to benefit from running it on your own?
Yeah, I mean both models are in play. The rev share
Okay.
model, or they buy everything, and we have a license fee that we charge. So again, we're very open, and candidly, it's still very early and kind of developing this, right now,
Hmm.
and we really just are looking for great partners to help us grow this brand and this business, and we're very creative in the ways that we can structure these partnerships. So all options are on the table.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think it's a great opportunity for so many people that are looking at getting involved in whether it's boutique hospitality or alternative assets or real estate in general. It's like it's kind of it's something super unique, but also like these price points aren't insurmountable, right? These are like, things that almost any investor can kind of wrap their head around, which I think is really awesome. Talk to us more about the entrepreneurial journey. Like what's been the hardest thing for you guys to solve um, with this model? And then I have some other questions around that as well.
Man, where do I begin? Again, when I talked about, we're really the first company to do this at scale, which means there wasn't a playbook. We had to build it, and there's different disciplines and divisions of the business. You have the production side, building the assets. You have the placement side, where you have to, find marinas to put these. It's not as easy as, hey, call up Marina Joe and be like, hey, can I put a houseboat here? I mean, we had to be very strategic in not just finding marinas, but the very best marinas to put them in. Um,
Mhm.
and so and then you have the short-term rental business. So you gotta, the challenging part is to keep all of them running around the same pace, because if one falls behind, then that impacts the other divisions. And so, as still a small team and an early stage startup, just trying to keep up with all of that, and then just all the great thing about this business, but also the hard part, is that there's so many cool things that we can do, and it's just we got to stay focused and tackle one thing at a time. And that's been a challenge. And then on the personal side too is, I have a 2 year old. We just had our second child a few
Okay.
weeks ago, so just trying to manage the personal family side with growing a startup is is definitely challenging. Kudos to everyone that has accomplished it, because it is. You could probably see in my eyes, like I'm half, they're, I haven't got much sleep lately, so I'm looking at myself in the screen. I was like, man, I look tired. Um, but
Another
yeah.
coffee, man. Another coffee. That's awesome. Congrats on that as well. That's awesome, man. How do you manage it? I mean, that's a big question for so many people. Like, what are some of the tactics more on the personal side that you've been using to be successful in both entities or both realms?
Yeah, I mean, I just try to maximize the day as much as possible. I've always been an early riser. I try to get, at least a solid hour and a half of work, done before the family wakes up. Although that's been crushed because my 2 year old is starting to come out at around 5 a.m. and I'm like, crap. Um, but I think the great thing is, and what I'm really excited about is just all the productivity gains with, the AI revolution. I was never a kind of technologist, but I've always been a tech-enabled, tech-forward type person. So definitely utilizing the tools that exist today to try to automate, some of the day-to-day processes that I can then focus on more of the higher level stuff. So, that's really not just me personally, but really have shared that voice across the team to ensure that they're deploying the same way. And, we've been working on some really cool stuff to help automate a lot of the processes. And, we're just getting started. So, I think that to me is really exciting. Just I think our type of business is set up really well for that, and also the impact
Hmm.
of AI and just what's ever going to come in the future that none of us really know what's going to happen. Is I think as we get more tech enabled, is that people are going to start to look at more real life experiences, and I think FlowHome, the company, is positioned really well because we are an experiential company. I mean, nothing greater than being able to be on the water, whether that's to get away from it or to work on it. And so, from a long term perspective, we're set up very well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's our thesis as well at Infinite is people crave experience. There's more and more technology popping up every day. People are going to want to get away from all of that and try to just bring themselves back to a more peaceful, more simple moment. Not going to be maybe their whole life, but just at least 5 minutes. Um, it's interesting that this thread of AI. I've been talking to almost every guest about it. Um, what are the practical uses? It's very interesting. I mean, I've been using it a lot myself for a bunch of different things. What are some of the practical uses of it that you've actually seen like real returns from? Because I think there's a lot of like you can try a bunch of stuff and then you use it for a month or two. Maybe there's not real gains. Are there some things that you've really said like, wow, okay, this changed the game for us, and here's the result?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, one of the things I did over the holiday break was basically use the AI tools to create my own employees. So I have different aspects of the business that I oversee, and so I've created personas for these different kind of employees, digital employees, I would call them, so that it helps me when I'm doing the day to day work. Is that now I'm just prompting something that already knows that, hey, you're my marketing assistant in charge of creating content for LinkedIn or Twitter, or whatever that may be. And so it helps accelerate some of the productivity there. That's phase one. Phase two is actually automating that, building a content brain that can then automate the posting and things like that, which we're working on now. So that's on a personal side. On a business side, on the short-term rental business, it's all about communication, guest communication, inquiries, bookings, and so we've been building our own like AI concierge that is learning all of the content, all the systems. It's being connected to our booking platform. That eventually we're experimenting with it right now and doing testing, but eventually that's going to start to take over and actually have direct contact with people that reach out to get pricing, to get information, and again, solving that is going to be massive because then we can stay lean and mean while delivering an exceptional experience. And so that's what really we've been prioritizing right now. But even just like normal operations, whether it's like maintenance tasks and cleaning and things like that, like we've been building out AI tools to help automate all of that processes that then gets sent to one centralized database that just it's much easier for the team to be able to manage and know what they have to do without actually doing it themselves, which again it releases them from some of the day-to-day grind to get them more focused on the growth. How do we continue growing the company?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. I've seen, yeah, a myriad of solutions around these AI employees. I don't know if you been doing anything with a like Claude bot or any of that?
No,
Been hearing about
I'm
that?
very familiar with it. I read about it all the time.
Yeah,
I haven't yet deployed it. It sounds great, but I think at the pace of things are going, it's like if I spent time, setting that up, by the time I got it set up, there's
yeah,
going to be something easier to do. So I'm just kind of just waiting to see what happens.
yeah. Yeah. No, I was just listening to Jason's podcast, and obviously they're going down that rabbit hole and talking a lot about this, which is awesome. But I agree with you. I was kind of in the same boat. Like, I'm just gonna wait for it to be a little bit less technical, and then see what it can do. Um, let's see. So, as you have these new processes layered in, you have this vision. What's like kind of a closing remark you might give to anybody that's entering this space, or somebody that wants to do something, similar, let's say in the realm of hospitality or experience. Like, what's one big takeaway that you've learned over the last few years?
Yeah, I think in this day and time, I think I think the world is going to force people to be an entrepreneur at the end of the day, and you're going to have to decide to take some risks in life to end up finding something that you ultimately love doing. I think a lot of the kind of mundane white collar work is getting transformed very quickly, and a lot of people are going to ultimately have to decide what they want to do and where's the opportunity. And I think what we're doing, not just what we're doing, but the whole unique stay experiential industry that arose from the Airbnb, being able to allow people to rent out their homes, which then turned into tree houses and cabins, and then those people like FLOHOM started to create their own brands, and ultimately, you know, real life unique experiences are never going away, and it's only going to become more and more popular. And so, it's a great business to be in, and it's very rewarding. It's fun. It is very challenging, and it's not for everyone. But again, I guess my message to everyone is really think about what you're most interested in and what you find the most purpose in, and just go for it. Because again, you know, I'm not afraid of failure, because I'm giving it my all. And if my best isn't the best, it might not work out, but I know it's going to work out because I have a great team. And that's another thing too, is like I've always valued building with teams. I don't want to be the Elon Musk of the world. I praise him for who he is, but I enjoy focusing on my different disciplines and allowing other people to excel at theirs, and we build together. And so that would be my message.
That's super awesome. I love it. Yeah, and I think the general thesis that I'm getting from that is this industry is not going anywhere. We're building more and more experience. It's going to flourish in many different form factors. And if we can band together as a group that's passionate about human experience, we can push that further and faster together. So I love it. I think this is super true. Super true. Anything else you want to share with people? I'm happy to link any links, all that good stuff. Happy to put that in the bottom of the chat, or in the post. But anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's it. I can share. I can send you my social profiles, and so people can follow along or reach out to me directly. I love talking to people, so don't be shy. Reach out to me if you have any questions or want to learn more. Happy to talk, and you never know where a conversation leads. So yeah, would love to talk to anyone who's interested.
Absolutely agree. Thanks again, Brian. Everybody listening, thank you for listening. This has been Matt Boney from FutureBuilt and Brian Meyer from FlowHome.